this is the part of being a Jets fan that I cannot reconcile because I don't have an answer for it. I mean, I can rant and rave, and I probably will at some point about what went wrong, the shank punt, Brandon Marshall's big drop, Todd Bowles still not working the timeouts properly, dumb penalties, not being ready to play, all those things that are in the football sense that I can wrap my brain around because I've seen it all a million times with this team. What I can't deal with anymore, and this honestly drives me nuts because I don't have an answer. You know my routine, Tiki. By the way, what's up?
And a Happy New Year.
You too, man. Go downstairs, get my, and I'm sick as a dog today. Go downstairs, get my coffee. And during the journey downstairs, invariably, every day, you bump into people who work at FAN, people you know on the street, the security guards, the people we get the coffee from, the Russians.
Yeah, the security guards, you can't understand what they're saying, but they're happy to see you.
Yeah, but they're one of us, big Jets fan. What I can't stand doing is the process of trying to explain where do the Jets go from here. Because the only thing that's changed over the last 20 years for me just about is the building that I go down in, the street that I enter, and the people that I actually interact with. But it's all the same conversation. Where do you go? I don't know. Where do you go? There's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Here's the dynamic of the Jets, which is just utterly painful. Brandon Marshall, who was phenomenal this season, no contesting that. He had a brilliant season. But he's 32 next year. So in one amazing season, he obliterates the Jets receiving, shatters every record, right? Altoon, touchdown, it goes nuts. He's 32 next season. It's not like you just drafted DeAndre Hopkins or just drafted Beckham, who's 23 and ascending, and they destroy the record book. This guy does it. He'll be gone in 2 years. That's problem number one. Problem number two, the quarterback. What does he do? He obliterates Vinny Testaverde's. I mean, that tells you all you need to know, that Vinny was the one who held it, not even Namath. 29 touchdowns back in 1998. Ryan Fitzpatrick, the nomad, the transient NFL quarterback who played for 9,000 teams, who I love, who's got great spirit and great toughness and really rallied this team, but he breaks the single-season touchdown mark, and he's 34 years of age. The guy that you give a boatload of money to got absolutely burned and ripped apart. Darrelle Revis, start looking at how to play safety because it's coming a lot sooner than you think. So all these things, when I go downstairs to get my coffee, talk to the security guard, I'm a friendly guy. What's happening, buddy? How was the weekend? Did you see Star Wars? Did you do that? What are you doing for New Year's? I don't have answers for these people because there are none. There are no answers for this stuff.
I feel for you, man. I really feel
There's
for you.
no answers.
There's no answers because the question really should be what happened, and we all know what happened. As good as the Jets have been all season long, when it got to crunch time, they couldn't make it work, right? They worked themselves into control of their playoff destiny, which is one of the most impossible things to do in the National Football League. With a couple of weeks left in the season, they didn't have control. They had to rely on the Steelers to win, to lose. The Steelers actually lost. And so the Jets, by winning, had control going into Week 17 of the NFL season. All you have to do is win. Win and you're in, or pray that the Steelers lose and you get in regardless. That didn't happen, obviously, because the Pittsburgh Steelers were playing, guess who? The Cleveland Browns, who are a dysfunctional clown show.
Oh, boy, we'll get to that.
Exactly, which everybody is gone, including head coach GM, who they cold-bloodedly fired before the game, and Johnny Manziel, who didn't show up with his concussion protocol. And honestly,
hey, Johnny, you splitting those or you're doubling down, Johnny? Which one is it?
I don't even know if I want to blame him, to be honest.
Just in the casino.
I almost don't want to even blame him because the way he was treated all season long. I get it. It's unprofessional. He shouldn't be a quarterback in the National Football League because you have to carry yourself differently. But if I got jerked around the way that he did in Cleveland all season long because he had a what was that drink, Samter? A Loco?
Core 4
or Loco? Four Loco in his hands.
Yeah, Four Loco.
And so instead of suspending me, you're going to put me in a concussion protocol when I didn't have it. Oh, okay, whatever, dude. I'll see you.
They are a mess.
I'll see you at the blackjack tables. So all they had to do was win, basically. Just win. Go to Buffalo, division rival. There's no reason not to be up for it. There's no reason not to know what the hell is going to happen. They have two guys who can beat you, Sammy Watkins or Tyrod Taylor with his legs. Carlos Williams was banged up and out in the game in the first half. Shady McCoy didn't even play. All you have to do is go win. They couldn't do it. And the reason they couldn't do it is because they don't have that winning instinct or mindset at quarterback. I hate to hand it to you. I love Ryan Fitzpatrick. I love the beard. I loved when he shaved the beard. I love the mojo, but he's not that guy. And he never will be that guy.
Okay, I don't disagree with that. But
now,
being that guy in the AFC title game is a little different than being that guy in Week 17 against a team that's not even 500.
But it's the same thing.
But
BT.
he was that guy against the Pats the previous week.
But think about this, BT. And it's hard to because you're myopic and because you're a Jets fan. But think about in the totality of how many games were there yesterday? Let's see, 16 games.
Mm-hmm.
16 games yesterday. 2 mattered. Right? And really only 1.5 mattered.
Yeah.
Because
little seating issues, but yeah, no,
exactly.
I got you.
But two mattered for are we getting in the playoffs or not? And I say 1.5 because we knew the Pittsburgh Steelers were beating up on the Cleveland Browns, which is what that previous little rant was about. The only game that mattered yesterday was the Jets and the Bills. So in essence, it was like a playoff game. And he just couldn't rise to the occasion down the stretch when it mattered. The 3 consecutive turnovers and on the final 3 possessions are the Ryan Fitzpatrick that I think a lot of people knew for most of his career. What we saw over the previous 5 weeks, and even going back in the beginning of the season, the whole 33 touchdowns, which is a Jet franchise record, this prolific combination, which it is prolific
Very
between
good.
Eric Decker and Brandon Marshall, it belied the fact that Ryan Fitzpatrick just is an average quarterback. And when put in pressure situation, this is what you do. You force a throw to Decker down in the goal line. You know,
he made mistakes. Listen, I can't fend him off. He made mistakes. I think the last one, and maybe even the second to last one, I think were byproducts of
pressure.
That was 4-down territory, and a little bit of pressure as well. 4-down territory.
No. I mean defensive pressure. I mean Marcel Darius.
Gotcha. Well, that's true. Well, he got popped. That's true. The last one he floated up. That's fair.
Exactly. I mean the Bills playing to the end, which is something they did simply to spoil it for the Jets.
Which is what I really don't understand. I can, on some level, and trust me, it is very hard to do this, I can even reconcile mistakes, even the physical ones, even the ones that drive you nuts, like, Brandon Marshall. It would have been a 19-yard gain early on, 3rd down, great throw by Fitz, dropped it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a killer, but you move on. Anunwa, who had a little bubble screen set up that he probably would have taken to the house, he drops it. Not that those are easy to swallow, but what I can't tolerate, and I know that fans are with me across the country, how in the world can you please explain to me as a former player, how can the Jets charge out of that tunnel knowing what's at stake, knowing all they got to do is handle their own business, win the game, all right? And no matter what happens in Pittsburgh, we're in Cleveland with the Pittsburgh Browns game, win the game. And the first 4 minutes of this game, I see the Bills bobbing up and down, jumping, pounding pads and hitting heads and doing daps and do whatever the hell they're doing. And the Jets are sleepwalking. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah.
Why?
The personality of your head coach.
Okay, which gets me to...
There's a reason that Rex Ryan keeps getting head coach or has a head coaching job because the personality means a lot.
Okay, but does that flip to Bowles?
Yes.
If it's the personality of Rex.
Of course. Think about what you saw, like physically what you saw.
Yeah.
You saw the Buffalo Bills jumping around, acting crazy, probably trash talking to each other, getting themselves hyped up, and then think about Rex Ryan. Is that not Rex Ryan? A bombastic.
It is, but it hasn't proven fully effective. So I don't want to overreact to it.
I'm talking about
short term.
I'm talking about the visual. I'm talking about getting ready for the last game of the season, which for the Bills means 0.
That's nothing.
Absolutely nothing other than playoff or draft seeding next year.
Which to the players, again, means nothing. They don't care about the draft.
Exactly. But it was the personality of the head coach. Now you throw around, and you hate to kill Todd Bowles in this situation, but you have to. He is a cerebral guy. He is a focus. This is what we're going to get. This is what we're going to do. This is our game plan. Who's jacking us up, getting us all energized? It's not Todd Bowles. And so in this case, when you take on the personality of the head coach and the head coach's personality doesn't fit the situation, it just didn't fit the situation. The Jets needed to be how the Bills were, jacked up and excited, and everything's on the line. This is the only game that matters in the National Football League because it was the only game that mattered in the National Football League. They didn't rise to that occasion, and it started with the head coach.
Todd Bowles is the absolute definition of average. He's another defensive coordinator who has no concept of clock management and game recognition. I mean, that was part of the rant. What was that, after November 23rd or something? Jets lost the game.
Yeah, but that's not what applied here. It was
No. It partially did.
Yeah, in
because
some regards.
they burned the timeout early in the third quarter because of a simple personnel package where they had 10 guys on the field rather than 11. And as I said before, rather than having the ability at the end of the game to maybe try to get a 3-spot or call the timeout before the 2-minute warning and use that, they were short a timeout, which absolutely hurt them. There's no doubt that hurt them.
Yeah, no, it
so
definitely
he's
did.
overly sedate. He's not overly intuitive on Sunday. Now, I can't kill a man who won 10 games. That's irresponsible. That's unfair. And I'm going to stop short of saying that he's not the guy to get them to the next level. In my heart, he doesn't strike me as anything more than what you just heard from November. Slightly above average or average. Prove me wrong.
Yeah, no.
The biggest game, you guys weren't ready to roll. That's on the coach.
It's his first duty, his first tenure as a head coach in the National Football League, where he's been a really good defensive coordinator. Most recently out in Arizona, where he just comes after guys and forces. When you focus on one side, he's focusing offenses to make mistakes, which is what he's been very good at. But as a result of them not being ready, and this was a slow game to get into. It really was.
Brutal.
I mean, they didn't get a score.
The Shank punt was huge.
It was enormous.
Huge. He sucks
It was
Quigley.
enormous.
Get rid of that guy. It's garbage.
It took them right before half, whenever it was, late in the second quarter, before they finally got points on the board. And then by that time, it just felt like they were going through the motions, right? Instead of being urgent and out there, they're going through the motions. As a result, they missed the playoffs.